Like what they do usually in car stereos, you know, the cheaper amps, you know, usually do 4 ohm and 2 ohm. Usually they will do 2 ohm, which is it's called 2 ohm stable. You can't just do 2 ohm, it's got to be 2 ohm stable. But a lot of the fancy dancy amps, the more expensive, you know, higher class amps, they'll even do 1 ohm stable. And every time you double your ohms, your ohms, or you know, divide your ohms, you get double the power. So say you buy a 1,000 watt amp at 4 ohm, you know, if you run it at 2 ohm, then it's a 2,000 watt amp. If you run it at 1 ohm, then it's almost a 4,000 watt amp.
Be a good way to burn the amp up.
But that's, oh no, that's only like if the amp is stable at that, if they built it that way.
Well, now we know. I want to go in there and wire this up, so I probably won't be back tonight, so I'll catch you guys later on. Take it easy, it's Radio FM 3.
You digitalized again.
What happened? Are you hearing that, Steve?
Yeah, you actually almost sound like you got a little bit of Aurora once in a while, Blaine.
Maybe it is Aurora.
I mean, it gets a little funky, like it's almost muffled on you, but it's got a gurgly sound to it, and then it just cleans right back up.
Yeah, Andy sounds like he's friggin' drunk to me.
I haven't even had a drink.
Dude, you should hear this. It's crazy. Does Andy sound normal to you?
He doesn't sound completely normal, no, but, I mean, he does, well, most of the time he sounds pretty well on the money, but every once in a while he sounds a little weird.
Does Signal allow you to play audio?
I don't know. If you record audio, you can send it.
Yeah, I don't. It's probably Aurora, Bandy. I wouldn't worry.
Yeah, I'm not going to worry about that tonight.
It's probably Aurora. It's probably just between me and you. I'm telling you, you sound like you're hammered.
I wish I was. I want to start that direction.
You done talked him into it, Blaine. That was too easy.
Oh, it doesn't take much.
Yeah, we realize that.
I do love alcohol.
What's weird is it's making him drunk, but then it's making him like super punchy like he's on an illegal.
Yeah, it's definitely the band doing some quirky stuff tonight.
I couldn't even hear Joe earlier, so yeah, the band was definitely weird.
Well, I was having some trouble with Joe too. I mean, I heard him all the time, but he was way down from normal. Way down.
Yeah, half the time he was 1 to 3 units out. All right, Andy, have a good night, buddy.
Yep, having a good night, Andy Bob. We'll catch you tomorrow, man.
I got the wife to let me put a 2-meter antenna on the new truck.
All right.
What'd you find out about that antenna, dude? You think it's going to work?
Are you going to put it right on the top of the cab?
Oh, no, here's the butt. Remember, there was a button there. I got to use a window mount, which, you know, I know those don't work the greatest, but it's a start, and, you know, I can mount it through the window thing, you know, it's like the glass mount thing. And, but now I know, again, I know they're not the best in the world, but that allows me to get the radio in the truck and then get it rolling. She's just worried about the coax being, you know, out, so I'll have to make sure I hide the coax really good so it don't bug her. But see, if it don't get out that good and I already got the radio in there, then that gets me to the next step. Oh, can I just put, you know, different antenna? This one sucks.
What about the antenna you were going to put under the hood?
What?
The antenna you were going to mount under the hood. It looked like a radio antenna.
Well, that's the goal, Andy, but she don't want me to do that.
Oh, okay.
That's the goal in the long run, see?
He's got a plan, man. He's got a plan.
I got you.
Sometimes you gotta work yourself through it, see?
Yeah, more times than not, actually. Unless you're like me, I just go out there and drill a hole in it.
Oh, my wife would frickin' leave me, dude. It would be the biggest deal in the world. We'd be fighting for weeks.
I bought that brand new 2012 Tahoe, the window sticker. Now this isn't what I paid, but back in 2012, the window sticker on that thing was $57,000, I believe is what it was. And I drove it home, and before I had the regular license plates even on it, I done drilled a hole in the roof. Actually, I done drilled 6 holes in the roof.
Yeah, dude, if I did that, she'd friggin' kill me.
I had six antennas right down the middle of the roof.
So I gotta be, what do you call that, respectful? I gotta respect their wishes, too.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, especially when you're a one-vehicle family, mostly. I mean, I get that, but for me, you know, my vehicle was always my vehicle, and her vehicle was always her vehicle, so, you know, from that angle, I never had to worry about that. I was always fortunate there.
Well, that's the way we used to be. You know, we had kids. I had my own vehicle, I had my own truck, she had her own car. You know, that's how it always was. But now that, you know, she works close to the house and I don't go nowhere, what's the point of having 2 vehicles?
Yeah, I get it. I get it completely.
Plus, in my opinion, I like having the one because it's less to work on. Holy crap, I'm sick of working on crap.
Well, and hopefully with this vehicle, you shouldn't have to work on stuff.
Yep. Have you ever used one of those antennas?
Through the window?
Yeah. It's still, believe it or not, it's still a 5/8 wave antenna.
I did blame back in the day when I had a bag phone in my vehicle. I had one of them through the window ones for it, and it worked pretty decent for what it was. I mean, obviously an antenna that's got the coax screwed right to it kind of thing will always work a little better. But it didn't work terrible. I mean, I was only running like 40 or 50 watts through it. But I think the one I had was a dual band one, and it did okay.
Yeah, this one's a dual band too. I think it's like 5/8 wave, 2 meter, and then, you know, quarter wave, 440.
Yeah, it should work relatively decent. I mean, I know it'll hear good. And also, I'm sure it'll get into the more local repeaters, you know, good. So, I mean, I would think that it would work good that way, you know, or at least relatively good that way without any issue. But, you know, I'm not 100% sure, obviously, till you run it, but I think it'll do okay, and you're not going to be putting high power through it, so you're not going to burn it up or anything. You know, it'll just make sure you get the window cleaned really good so it sticks on really well. And the other thing is make sure you get it lined out, you know, lined up from one side of the window to the other pretty much perfectly. That way the wires are almost, you know, they're against each other other than the fact that there's a piece of glass between them.
All right, yeah, well, let's plan on all that. I just wondering if performance-wise, you know, had anybody ever used one. I always hear bad reviews, but you know what, I figured it's worth a shot.
Yeah, well, and, you know, I mean, like you said, it's a stepping stone.
I haven't had a 2-meter radio in a vehicle in probably 3 years, so.
Roger. You know, I will mention one other thing, and it's just food for thought. If you ever have any inclination of putting a toolbox in that truck, that would be a good place to mount the antenna, just so that it's not mounted on the body of the vehicle if you go to a mountable type antenna.
Yeah, I know, but it'd have to be a special toolbox because the way that new tonneau cover is, dude, it's pretty hardcore. It's really freaking neat, but it'd have to be like a shorter toolbox to fit underneath the tonneau cover.
Let me ask another question then. Is there any way, I mean, I'm assuming that truck has got a lot of aluminum in it, or it may be all aluminum. Number one, is the bed aluminum? And number two, if it is, the one thing I would maybe think about is to maybe loosen the tonneau cover and just put a piece of metal there from the bed out from under the tonneau cover, just far enough to mount an antenna on. You know, use a thinner piece of flat metal where you screw it on, and then basically just slide a trunk mount type antenna on it, and you tighten the Allen wrenches. That way you're not drilling a whole bunch of holes in the truck, and the hole you actually do have to drill is under the tonneau cover, so it won't hurt nothing.
Yeah, well, I'm good. If this antenna don't work up to par, I already have one of those fancy-dancy $45 mounts that you mount it on the lip of the hood, or you can mount it in the trunk too, but it's a hood mount more or less, and it won't scratch the paint on the the outside of the hood, but then it's got the 3 Allen wrench bolts that connect underneath the hood, so that way it don't hurt the vehicle. And I got that awesome diamond tri-band where that thing's really expensive, and it's like what, a 1.5 wave or something like that, 1 3/4 wave over 5/8 wave on 2 meter. It's like one of the best antennas you can get, other than that Hustler, which is the really big one. But anyways, I got that so I could put that in that mount. And if this goes the way I don't want it to, if it's not as work at least as good as I need it to, I will use that mount, because I know that mount works great, and so does the antenna. And plus, if I put it on the right side, it'll look like an old AM/FM antenna, see, like on a vehicle back in the day.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea. I actually had my Tahoe looked like a porcupine, man. Because, like I said, I had 6 antennas down the top of the roof. Of course, I had the screwdriver back at the tail light mounted into the hitch, and then each side of the hood, I had those L-type angle brackets with an NMO mount antenna on each side of the hood. And the reason I did that was I had 2 meter 440, a phone, the Wi-Fi, and something else on the roof. I forget what they all were. Oh, I had a VHF antenna for my fire department radio, and I had a scanner antenna as well, because I had all my fire department radios in there too, in that Tahoe. And then on the 2 fenders, at the hood mount ones, I had a 10 meter on the driver's side and a 6 meter on the passenger side, because they didn't work very well on the screwdriver. 10 meters would work, but it would get high standing wave on the end of it. So I put that antenna on the hood, just so I had it, proportionate. I had one on each side in the same spot with those L brackets, and so I had one on each side, and then 6 down the roof, and the one on the back, and I mean, it was like I said, it looked like a porcupine.
Yeah, I had all that crap too. I had the screwdriver on the back on that tri-magnet mount, then I had a 2 meter 440 magnet mount on the top, and then I had a 2 meter hood lip mount on the hood, and then I had a 440 6 meter magnet mount that went back by the trunk a little bit on the right side, so I know all about the porcupine.
Yeah. Well, mine was black and blacked out, and had that big old bumper on it. Of course, I had all my fire department lights all over it. and they were those clear LED ones. I mean, you could see them on the vehicle. Like there was two of them around the license plate, and there was two in the grill, and of course I had the bar across the top of the inside of the glass, and then I had another one set on the dash, and you know, it looked a lot like a cruiser with all them antennas and crap, and I never ever got pulled over in all them years driving that thing back and forth to work, because everybody, when I'd come up on people, because I drove 90 mile an hour all the time, when I'd come up on somebody real quick on the interstate, they'd hop over in the slow lane real quick and get out of the way. That was nice.
I never got pulled over either. I think, you know, most of the time, cops, you know, they respect ham operators, because I never got screwed with.
Yeah, I never did either, and like I said, everybody always hopped over in the right lane and gave me the road. I had one cop shake his finger at me a few times. That was doing radar in a work zone. That was funnier than heck. The old guy couldn't come chase me, but he started shaking his finger at me every evening. So I'd roll down the window and wave at him. It was hilarious. He just cussed. He's an old gray-headed deputy, and he did not like that at all. And I did it to him day in, day out, every evening. I kept watching because I was afraid that he'd be outside of the barrier one evening, you know, because he seen me doing it day after day after day, but apparently he wasn't allowed to, because he never did come out from behind the barrier to try to catch me.
Yeah, you know what I don't miss is having, when you're a kid, you grow up with crappy vehicles, and it seemed like the minute I got a good vehicle, I never got messed with ever again. I feel so bad for these kids that, you know, that can't afford a real vehicle. You know what I mean, rusty pile of crap, dented. Because the cops really do pick on people like that. It's pretty sickening, actually.
Yeah, well, and a lot of it, I think they want to make sure the vehicle's safe, because it is typically a young person driving it. And you know as well as I do, I mean, a young person is not the first person in line to go buy a light bulb if a light bulb burns out in their tail light, or a headlight goes out, or anything like that. So they, in some ways, they kind of open the door up for that a little bit too. But I have to agree with you. I mean, they do get picked on because, you know, typically their car's not in A1 shape all the time.
Dude, I got screwed with all the time. All the time.
I never really did, but I never really had a real rust bucket car though either. I had a little Chevy Chevette that was a piece of shit, but other than that, most of my cars were fairly decent looking vehicles. I mean, they might not have run really good, but as far as the outside appearance went, they looked fairly decent. You know, they weren't rusted all up and stuff. And the good thing was, you know, I always kept my tail lights and signal lights and headlights and all that kind of crap, you know, license plate lights and so forth. Always kept all that stuff working. And they never really screwed with me much. The only time I ever got screwed with much was whenever I was showing off and spinning my wheels and stuff. I got busted a few times doing that.
So did I. That's a given. For that type of stuff, you get caught. What's that saying? You F around, you find out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some of my cars were so doggy, I'd have to pour motor oil on the tires to get them to spin. I'm being serious, dude.
I never had to do that.
I had an old Dodge Dart Swinger with a slant 6 in it, and I actually had to